Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SimPlay Motorsport. My name's Dan Davis, and once again, we've got some Whodarron Cup action here live at Barcelona. And joining me in the commentary box once again for another nice worth of absolute chaos is my good friend Lexi. Lexi, welcome back to the comments box once again. Obviously, a week of racing at Corsa, sadly missing out on the pros in the week, but we are here in sunny Spain. I say sunny, it's a bit overcast here at the minute, but we are in Barcelona ready to go racing here in this phenomenal circuit, and you obviously just told me it's one of the greatest circuits ever.
Okay, right, we're getting straight into that, are we? Well, it's very different for the drivers this week, but it's also very similar. Overcast weather, so no sun glare coming through your windshield. It is a bit lower temperatures than last week. Of course, you saw it last week, about 36, 38 degrees across the board on track surface. Down to 30 degrees this week round, so the drivers will definitely be enjoying that. But of course, it's Circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia, and it's a absolutely perfect test track. Apparently, Dan does not like it. Personally, I'm a fan of it. If you're watching in the chat, let us know what you think of the Circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia. Of course, on the older layout, turn number 10 being a hairpin rather than the elongated left-hander, and the chicane still very much in use, but be grateful it's not the double chicane that Formula E decides to use in real life, even still to this modern day. The back straight going to be a good overtaking opportunity up and through the right-hander of turn number 9 back in 2014. Turn number 4 infamous for Hamilton and Rosberg. That big crash happening between the two teammates out there on the circuit. Hopefully there'll be no crashing between teammates tonight here, Dan, but it's a very different circuit to rip-off Maggots and Beckett's, rip-off Hockenheim, and a long back straight. It's kind of a mishmash, but Barcelona, there is a reason for all these corners. You've got your low speed, you've got your high speed, and of course, you've got your lovely medium speed corners. So it is really going to be pushing the car to the limit, and this is probably the challenge on this season, where it's the track where it pushes the cars and it's pinpoint precision.
Yeah, it is indeed. I mean, obviously we could talk about how terrible this circuit actually is, in my opinion. But regarding all the best Spanish circuits that we've ever had, I actually prefer Jerez to this one. But as you said, it is a very good practice server. It's a very good test server for cars in general. Obviously, you've got the low speed, the high speed, you've got the medium speed, and obviously you've got all sorts of different versions of this circuit. But it's definitely going to be a challenge, and obviously with the warmer conditions here in Spain as well, it definitely offers some great racing opportunities. Obviously, in my opinion, Lexi, not the easiest circuit to overtake. There is possibly, turn 1, the final hairpin, and maybe turn 4 are really your best opportunity. Turn 4, 5 maybe are your best opportunities to overtake around here. But other than that, I do think it's a follow the leader circuit. And I think with these Genettas, when I actually had a little test in them myself last night, and they seem to be topping out quite badly down the main straight. So we'll see how they all get on. But like I said, Zampanini top of the session at this moment in time. Obviously a bit down in the championship and really using that less weight to their advantage. Guys, let's hear from you in the chat. Do you like Catalonia? That's the question. Sadly, my keyboard is being a bit rubbish today. So we sadly have got the basic cameras. So that's going to be a bit boring. But I'll try my best next time to get it sorted out. But yeah, obviously, with the way the things have been going recently, Lexi, Zampanini has looked mighty. Obviously, without the weight on board, even possibly with the weight, I think really it's really difficult to stop him at this minute.
I mean, yeah, like let's go back to last week. It was at Kota. It was fastest in free practice, fastest in pole in race 1 and race 2, win in race 1 and race 2. Almost went 3 for 3 across the board, only to be dethroned in the final race and the final qualifying session. So it really comes down to that. Can he get it all done tonight? We will have to wait and see. Like you said, it's a bit of follow the leader circuit, but with these Genettas being so small on how they are, you said turn 1, turn 4, and the final hairpin. You can also go for a move through turn number 3 round the outside, elongated. Turn number 5 and turn number 6 are also there for a move down the inside, as well as turn number 7. But 7, 8, and 9 are definitely a bit more tricky to get through, as you do throw it in so quickly. Also going to have to be careful of all the grass out there, which is on the circuit. There's, of course, not a lot of runoff. You got that runoff turn number 1 and turn number 2, and into turn number 3 as well, which is basically tarmac. But the rest of the circuit, quite a lot of greenery around there. Turn number 10, you can also use the runoff, which is there. No Formula 1 track limits like in Corsa, so you're going to see drivers pushing the limits with the tracks. You're going to be seeing them going all over the curb, as Rob Ramsell was doing just through turn number 1 and 2, using as much of a curb on the exit on into turn number 1 and then through turn number 2. But right now it's Zampolini up top with 1 minute 53.165, Friedman sits P number 2 and Skunky P number 3. It is split into 3 different classifications. It's points for overall position, so not per classification, but drivers are classified just to show who is where. Your gold drivers are having the white number plates with black numbers, silver drivers with grey number plates with white numbers, and then the bronze drivers with the red number plates and black numbers. No platinum drivers in the Whodarron Cup. That is reserved simply only for Pro on Thursday nights. Of course, Pro coming to you on Thursday nights with Sweet and Sticky. That's Matthew Duffin and Kelly Davis right here on the YouTube, as well as tomorrow night we have Dan once again in the box for the Pro-Am. Of course, it is bronze and silver in Pro-Am, and then gold and platinum in Pro. But all focuses on tonight, Dan, and it's going to be an interesting one, as this is brought to you by Design Manchester and Audio Sport. More information about them in the description below.
Yeah, indeed it is, and obviously, just as she was just saying there, Lexi, obviously the different classes, separating different drivers, the different abilities, and with that, I could tell you the quick rundown of the championship standings going into this round is Tordot leading the way. So he, obviously, the way this will work, obviously for the Whodarron Cup as well, top 8 in the championship do carry success ballast, and funny enough, Zampolini is actually carrying success ballast here tonight. I thought he wasn't, but he is. So this is how the championship looks. It's Tordot who will carry 40 kilos going into this event, pretty much the maximum weight he can carry. Then we have the 2 very, very competitive Dapper racing cars of O'Reilly ahead of Hupert. Those 2 will be carrying the 35 kilos and 30 kilos on board. Then 4th in the championship is Matthew Duffin. He will be carrying the 25 kilos on board his car, and really holding his own at the moment with those guys. Snide just behind him with the 20 kilos on board, followed by then Silth, who will have 15 kilos on board. And then we have the man who's on pole at the minute, Zampolini, who is going to be carrying 10 kilos on board his car. And then McGowan, once again, just carrying that 5 kilos on top. Where is McGowan? There he is, down at the bottom of the pack at the minute, but obviously that will improve. 9th in the championship is your first silver driver. That is Matt Wright in 9th place with Will Friedman in 10th. In 11th is Hoffner, 12th is Skunky, Leach in 13th, Bolton 14th, Langley in 15th with Goudet in 16th, Carlos in 17th with Ramsell 18th, Carball in 19th, 20th is Keynes with Millington in 21st, Aberdeen 22nd, 23rd is Tipping with Yo in 24th, Nebo in 25th, Varga 26th and Bell in 27th. Taylor 28th with Smith in 29th, Marston 30th, Stardog 31st, Johnson 32nd with Storrock in 33rd, Archer in 34th. I forgot to mention that Tipping is the leading bronze driver in 23rd. Archer in 34th with Fernie in 35th, Old Sim Racer in 36th with Cummings in 37th, Cherry Moore 38th, P. Williams in 39th, Betterson 40th, and others still yet to get off the market. And we do have a new driver this evening. Joining us in the bronze category is Flomp. Matt did tell me the name, and I'm probably going to absolutely mess it up, but Flomp is with us. Flop. Yes, Flop.
Yeah,
Flop.
It's 2 P's, so
Flop.
Just go by the surname, Flop.
Flop.
A very pronounced P.
Flop. Flop. Either way, he joined, I believe he's German as well, I think Matt was telling me. So welcome him into the channel, and obviously I hope he enjoys his time here at SimPlay Motorsport. But it is definitely going to be an interesting one nonetheless. Regarding the teams, it's Dapper Racing with a massive lead of 289 points ahead of SimPlay Racing, with the Ballbusters Racing in third. Greasy Bandit sat in P4 with MSA in P5. Team RRM in P6 with Quantum in P7. CT Motorsport with Tordok on his own in P8, with Team GBR in 9th. Forsen Joe Lords in 10th, with G and D Racing in 11th. Team Autosport in 12th, with OWR Racing in 13th, and Team Piston Pounders in 14th place position. 15th is Roadrunner Motors with Blunt Force Racing in 16th, CGT Motorsport in 17th, Soldor Racing in 18th, 2Cs Racing 19th, Team Tom in 20th, and then 21st is Team FBR, and that is your championship standings. And that is the end of practice as well, Lexi. And we've come to the end of this session. And once again, we look to the top, and it is Zampolini fastest, even with that weight on board.
I'm just going to say, Dan, you forgot a team in there.
Lexi's Industries Racing?
Yes.
Still to get off the mark.
It's still to get off the mark, but it is technically there. Got to say all the teams.
Okay, well then there's obviously OGR Racing as well in there as well. Still yet to get off the mark, but both of those guys are currently on 0 points at the moment in the championship. But anything can still happen. We're not even at the halfway stage of this season yet. And obviously, we've added one circuit onto this this season. We've now got 13 rounds instead of 12. For the pros, it's now 12 after missing Kota. But yeah, hopefully we won't have any ACC shenanigans when we come to the pro night. Hopefully we'll be actually go racing for them.
I'm just not going to mention the servers again. I mentioned it last week, saying how PC had such and such, and then it happened on Thursday. I'm just not going to mention the servers again because I feel like that one was on me. It's way too much. Anyways, qualifying's getting underway, and it is going to be right off the mark, and it is Tardok who is coming out of the pit lane first to lead the way in his very nice blue, pink and white Ginetta machine. Of course, there is one thing that we haven't really discussed this season, Dan, and I want to really think about it. How are these drivers adapting, and are they actually adjusting the camera settings which they use? Because, of course, the Ginetta is a right-hand side car which you drive on, the proper British way. So we do wonder, have some drivers maybe adjusted the camera so they're actually sitting on the left-hand side? But it does create an interesting aspect there.
Yeah, possibly so. If you've got drivers that like to go on the cockpit view, I personally am not a cockpit view driver. I like to go on the hood. For me, I don't get the true experience of being in board the car. That's just my preferred opinion and feeling. I feel like it's actually misleading, and I don't particularly like it. I find the hood is more aware of what I can see and what's going on around me, and makes me more aware and judge better of what I can do when I'm racing. That's just my personal preference. But like you said, a lot of drivers tend to drive cars that either left-hand side or right-hand side drive. Obviously, the Ginettas are on the right-hand side. A majority of the cars, I believe, on this game are left-hand side. So it is a big change. It is a big difference. And obviously, it's a lot for the guys who raced the GT4s primarily last season and got used to those cars. But I'm pretty sure majority of our drivers are well enough, good enough and capable enough to adjust and meet those requirements when necessary. Obviously, we're now going into our 10-minute qualifying session, and Tordok will start this off as he exits the final corner. Now, for me, Lexi, it's obviously last season we had a sprint and a feature. We've gone back to the touring car-esque theme of 3 20-minute races flat out. For me, it's trying to readjust yourself to being a little bit more cautious while aggressive in the 20 minutes, because you can't be too slow and you'll get mugged because everyone else is being quick and aggressive. But you can't risk getting hit, because if you do get hit and you have damage, then your race is pretty much ruined anyway.
Yeah, that's why you want to set up for a good qualifying run as you head out of turn number 3 and down into turn number 4. It is Tardok, CT Motorsport, who is currently out there at the moment looking to get that top time in. Of course, with the shorter qualifying, it is going to become an interesting factor of how long you will get. Of course, as Dan said, 3 20-minute races, but the qualifyings are slightly different. First qualifying here is going to be 10 minutes long, and then qualifying for race 2 and race 3 is going to be 7 minutes. Out of turn number and down into turn number 7. Quickly switch it right into turn number 8. It's elongated left, kinda. Then up through right into another right-hander at turn number 9. It can go very wide in a GT3, but the Ginettas that seem to stick planted onto the back straight here at the Circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia, and into the braking zone. Into turn number 10, which is a hairpin now in this game, but it is a elongated left-hander in real life. Nice and easy over the curb. Your sausage curb is you touch it, that's all you want to do. You want to go on the left of it, and you want to stay away from the rest. Through the right-hander into the final sector, and then into the tightening section, into the right-hander here, and then down into the chicane, into the left and right-hander of course, the infamous Barcelona chicane. No idea if it's actually got a name, but we just call it that here. Then through the final corner now, it's pedal to the metal, the foot goes to the floor. For Tardok here, the number 200 in the Ginetta, set time in time. It is a 1 minute 53, 7.00. Matthew Duffin's just behind, 0.432 off the pace. It is going to be Sylph who goes to the top, 1 minute 53, 6.13. Skunky coming through the final corner. Also got a few more drivers coming to the line. Sylph still sits up at the top. Where is everybody else going to go? Skunky goes up into P number 6. Where is Zampolini? He's coming out the final corner. Currently P19 with no time on the board. Goes to the line, goes to the top. 153, 297. No surprise there, Dan.
No surprise at all as he does go top of the session. Nice to see Gary Carble in the chat and PN in the chat as well. As Gary Carble do cross the line and goes to P9. Zampanini setting the pace. Goudet there going into P7. At the minute, your leading silver driver at this stage. Friedman now pops a lap time to put him in P5. So he needs to be getting a little bit more gel with the Ginetta. Obviously, usually a Porsche man, but he's in the Ginetta for this championship. We are now on board with Millington, who comes to the line 15th on that one, and he just gets pipped by Fernie, who now goes into 12th place position as well. So lap times are coming in thick and fast. The 44, that is Benny Archer. He now goes into the 20th position as you go on board with our newcomer Flop, who comes out of the final corner now and looking to try and put a decent lap time on board. Can he be our leading bronze driver? He can, and he's well into the bronze category, the silver category at this minute. But once again, a lap time set by Zampolini there. That is mighty, a 1:43.2. I have seen this man in, sorry, not 40, 53.2. I have seen this man in the 52s. But obviously a little weight on board as well might hamper him ever so slightly. But we go back to the final chicane, and here comes Tordok and Duffin out the final corner.
We're also going to have Gary Leach as well. So 3 drivers. It looks like Gary's actually going to go and invalidate that lap time. Going to go to the line. Plenty of drivers coming through now. As it seems like everybody's a bit clustered into the final sector. We've got a few stragglers out there who are making their way through, but everybody seems to be.
Sylph now goes fastest.
Yep, Sylph to the top. Very good time for the MSA driver. 153.295. However, only 2 thousandths, and Zampolini will look to respond out this final corner now in the top. And Zampolini will go to the line. And it is Yo who did look for the top, quickly dethroned by Zampolini. 153.060. I'm going to say, Dan, I will not be surprised if Zampolini or somebody else is about to go out there and set a 1 minute 52, because this track is a slight bit hotter than in practice as Friedman comes to the line. Quick improvement to P number 4 there. But we're 1 degree faster on track, meaning those tyres are going to be sticking to the surface even more.
They are indeed, and they're going to be a lot grippier. They're going to find the pace. They're going to go a lot faster throughout the session. Millington comes to line 18th in the end for him. Matt Wright still struggling at the minute, down in 23rd position. He's now coming out to the final corner now. Just ahead of him we see, I believe that's Benny Archer coming to the line. I believe it was, but Wright finally gets a lap time on the board, and it is 14th place position. He will have enough time to go again. But Darren Yeo, meanwhile, no weight on board the car, and he's already threatening Zampolini in this one, as is Sylph. Sylph's looking very competitive as well in that Ginetta. But Tordok obviously carrying all that weight, just struggling at the minute down in that 7th place position. And we'll see where this all stands out at the end of this session. possibly only got a couple of more runs in them for some of these guys, and it's going to be a tight end to this session. Matthew Duffin in the background taking a lot of curb, but to the line comes Tordok, and can he improve on 53.77? He comes to the line. He does not. He stays where he is. Duffin stays where he is as well. And here comes Leach. Has he put a lap time on the board? He has, but it's only good enough for 20th position. Where is Sylph? Is he going to improve? He does not. As here comes Yo.
Yeah, most definitely. And as we do watch Yo come to the line, as I've switched to Flop, who is now in the gravel, switching back to the line. Skunky also going to be there. Snide making his way through for a new lap time as well. I just want to point this out because it has not been mentioned in the Discord server. As of 1:29 AM this morning, we are now officially at 600 members in the Discord server.
Plenty of members in there now, and a lot of drivers signing up to the championships, which is great to see. Friedman crosses the line, P4 still on that one. Drivers, I think here, Lexi, are just struggling to find those few tenths, those few little bits and bobs. And I think that's one of the challenges of this circuit. It is so difficult to find that little bit more here and there. You can make so much time in one sector and then lose it all. Do you aggressively attack the first half of the lap, or do you try and look after the tyres towards the end and try and salvage it at the end? That is the difference here, as we've got a lot of drivers coming to the end of their laps. And Flop has returned back to the pits. So last dash attempt for these guys.
Well, Hoopert did slow down on that lap, so Hoopert's going to be going for his final run now. Rob Smith into the pit lane. Plenty of drivers in the pit lane, actually. No lap time set by Aberdeen, Carlos, Johnson, Marsden, Tipping or Taylor here this evening. So quite a few drivers opting to not go for a time here. Tardo, current championship leader, going to be heading now around final corner at P number 7. He wants to dethrone Zampolini, who is sat P number 1, but he will have to find 0.7110. And it is not going to be an improvement. He's got 23 seconds on the clock, so he's going to be able to go for another run. Sylph now around the final corner as he comes to the line for MSA. Stays where he is. Zampolini in the pit lane. Yo is slowed down and he returns to the pit lane. So only Sylph in the top 3 is going to be looking to improve. Kyle O'Reilly is going to be making his way through as well. Matthew Duffin, Tardok, Skunky, Keynes to the line. This is going to be Keynes' final lap. They stay P number 9 for the moment. As you've also got Sny, who's making his way through the sectors. Also going to have McGowan, who's round there at the moment. 101 as I see it on my thing. As of course, ACC can play games with you. But it's going to be an interesting one as we do now head through these final few corners. Where is everybody going to go? That was an improvement there. Rob Ramsell going to go P number 17 with the 501 on his car. Next to the line is going to be the 566. That's going to be Benny Varga, who's going to be going through the final corner now for Sodor Racing. The blue, orange and black machine goes around the final corner. Will he go to the line? Yes, he will. No improvement for him, though. And now we've got the rest of the drivers who are clumped up. The 186 now going to head to the line, and it seems no improvement there for them. Sny is going to be in the middle of this pack of plenty of drivers. Slight improvement there. Dan, talk us through it, because we've got plenty of drivers coming through right now. Hooper, P number 18.
It was a slight improvement, not a massive amount. Leach is back into the pit, and Hooper ended up in 18th in the end. But what can the rest of the pack do? Tordok is done. Duffin is done. I think it's really down to Sylph, really, to threaten this pole position, as is Skunky and O'Reilly. But I think Skunky is holding up Sylph ever so slightly here. So we might see no improvement. I think Zampolini might be safe at this stage. But Darren Yo with the lower weight on board. Sylph does improve, as did, sorry, that was McGowan in front. So he does find an improvement. O'Reilly does not improve and pulls over to the side. Here comes Skunky now out at the final corner. The last man to set a lap time. Does he improve? He stays in P9 in the end. So Zampolini, another pole position to his name.
Yeah, I mean, is it really a surprise when you look at the stats? He's been on an absolute charge since he came into this, and now he's up there. 1 minute 53.060 is the pole lap time. P number 2 being Ryan Yo with a 1 minute 53.167, and then a 1:53.280 being for Sylph. It's then going to be Friedman, O'Reilly, and Duffin, McGowan, Tardock, Skunky, Cairns, and that is that. We have 1 minute 23. We'll go through the grid order once we get on with the formation lap. Of course, Dan, it's Circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya. What are we saying here for lap 1 predictions?
Lap 1 predictions or race predictions?
Lap 1.
Lap 1.
Because we know what, because it's happening in real life and it happens in sim racing. We know how tricky turn number 1, 2, and 3 can be. So, lap 1 predictions, what are we expecting?
Carnage. Absolute carnage. I do think whoever comes off the line best, or get a best shot out of the slipstream, will probably be the best one going into turn number 1. Like, for example, when Fernando Alonso started on the second row back in, I believe it's either 2011 or 2012, and he pretty much just sprinted past everyone around the outside and managed to make it into turn 1 first. But unless Zampolini can keep it all together, you can't really look anywhere else past him for the race win. But I do think there are some quick guys in the category. I think Darren Yeo could be up for a good opportunity down the inside if he can get a good start. But I hope there's no silly incidences.
Yeah, well, that is what we're going to have to hope for, as the drivers will now get the engines roaring and they will get on the way. Quick correction here, because Raiden did do the livery. Varga is not a black, orange and blue machine. It's actually a British Racing green, orange and blue machine. So that is a slight correction on the livery. Also, another key thing, color coding game is 527, Chrome 2. So that's an interesting one, but on my screen that looks a lot more black than British Racing green. But we digress, as right now it's Zampolini who will be lining up on pole position. It's then Yo in P number 2, first of the silver drivers out there, right up in the thick of it with the golds. It's then going to be Sylph and Friedman who line up on the second row. O'Reilly and Duffin go side by side to complete the third. It's then McGowan and Tardock to line up on the fourth grid, P7 and 8 respectively. Skunky and Cairns, P9 and 10 to round out fifth row. That's the top 10 completed. It's then Sny, Matt Wright, Benny Varga, Harble, John Goday, Flop Vanukuma. We'll see what he can do tonight here in race number 1. Then Rob Ramsell, followed by Hooper Fernie and Steve Millington to round out P number 20. Then Cherrymore, Bell, Leach, Rob Smith, Benny Archer, Marsden, Johnson, Carlos, Taylor, Tipping and Aberdeen. Of course, the first of the bronze drivers being Flop as well. So a very, very good start for Vanukuma here, already starting to send the message. You do wonder when you look at it, should he have been put in silver? But we'll have to wait for the race in action to get underway before we can have a look at that. Hooper as well, seemingly not having a good start there in qualifying. He is one of the lowest down gold drivers. He did set a lap time down in P number 17. No lap time was set for Carlos for MSA Racing. He's down in P number 28 as the last gold driver on the grid. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here to SimPlay Motorsport, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications to get notified every single time that we do go live. Of course, it is the Whodarron Cup tonight, but you've got Pro-Am tomorrow night and then Pro on Thursday night. Sweet and sticky for Pro, that's Matthew Duffin, Kelly Davis, and then you got Dan Davis in the box for Pro-Ams as well. That's where you'll see in the Pros is where you'll see the Platinums getting ready for the race in action. But tonight, it's just gold, silver, and Am. And Dan, we're heading into these final few corners, so I'll hand it to you to take this away for race number 1.
Well, Benny Varga has just dropped it going into the hairpin. They are now getting into a 2x2 formation and getting themselves ready to go racing for the first time this week. Somebody has just dropped a message to me in the Discord. Hopefully it's okay. It's actually somewhere else. But we are looking forward to this one. It is Zampolini versus Darren Yeo on the front row. Can Zampolini carry on his winning streak? He absolutely dominated at COTA, other than missing out on one pole position. But he is here at Catalunya, ready to go racing. We now wait for the drivers to get ready to go racing here in Catalunya. Race 1 of the week. We wait for the green. and green, and away we go. That was pretty quick, to be fair. I was too busy chatting as we head now down towards turn number 1 and a relatively even start. Zampolini on the marbles, which could put him in risk as Darren Yeo looking to go around the outside of turn number 1. Friedman right there with him as O'Reilly as well. But they go into turn number 1 and Zampolini holds the line as the rest of the pack work their way through the order as best they possibly can, and Flop also in the mid-pack of all that as a little bit of dirt kicked up and the car going straight on at the chicane. But other than that, relatively clean and fair as we get racing up towards the top end of the fast circuit.
Yeah, well, it's Barcelona Catalunya through turn number 4. They do now head. Going to hold on to it. Already got the newcomer who is trying to make his way through. Flop on the inside. Going to be trying to hold on to it, trying to hold on to that line. Seemingly no move done there for the moment. Down the inside is plenty of drivers as ACC timings finally update. No race control on console, so we got to hope for it. You're going to go 3 abreast for a square as you head now down through and up the hill to turn number 8 through turn number 9. Turn number 10 is going to be the hairpin. Zampolini still leads, but Yo's going to look for him on the back, into the toe, looking for it down the back straight. Already got plenty of drivers, wheel to wheel, side by side, going off track a little bit was Will Friedman. Looking to be under attack. Matthew Duffin is got ahead of him, so it now comes down to the other drivers. Down the inside, Friedman on Skunky. Greasy Bandits right there, and that's actually Sny as well, right in the thick of it. But right now, everybody's seemingly nice and clean. Zampolini leads heading into the final section, but he's constantly in the gravel. So he has been touching the gravel quite a bit. That's going to be spraying up onto the windshield of some drivers. I'm sure they will not be happy about that. You'd have the wipers on if this was iRacing. A little bit further back, Hooper is trying to go around the outside. 4 drivers are down, so something happened at the start of that race in the back, which unfortunately we missed. But now onto the back straight, as we said, Zampolini leads, followed by Yo, and then Carlo, and then O'Reilly.
Yeah, we got now down the main straight, and then, like I said, they're going to hit the limiters quite hard down the back, the main straight. And Yo back end stepping out as he goes through turn number 1, trying to gain time on Zampolini, but Zampolini not phased as O'Reilly now starts to get into a groove and hunt them down. Meanwhile, Duffin is going wheel to wheel with Silth, and Friedman just behind them as well. McGowan trying to go with him also. O'Reilly the one setting the fastest lap, the only valid lap so far, as the rest of the pack come flying through. Ramsel trying to make moves on Leach. He's also with his good friend Millington as well, and they got Carlos just behind them as well. So a lot of positions being fight for as Johnson, I think, looked for a moment on the inside of Archer, but doesn't quite get the job done. But meanwhile, Zampolini's still holding on to this raid lead, but Yo is not letting him go easy. Darren Yo trying.
Yeah, that in the background, that was Carlos into Steve Millington, and Steve Millington off and into the barrier at turn number 5. So that is a big moment there. That's Steve Millington with front end damage. Without a doubt, he's going to be very, very upset about that. Onto the back straight now. Plenty of drivers still looking for it. Zampolini still leads it. Yo is constantly looking, but no opportunity to slither through. Matthew Duffin did look for it, goes deep. Will Friedman may look for an opportunity. Maybe try to stick the nose down the inside at turn number 11, but not working out that time either. Gotta be careful because they got the greasy
Sny's been off
behind them.
There's all sorts of chaos behind. Sorry, Keynes is also slowed down. I think he's allowed Sny through, but there's also bits of chaos further back, and I think possibly Sny and Keynes may have come together. I'm not 100% sure. I did not see the incident, but there's all sorts of chaos further behind. Meanwhile, Yo has dropped off the back of O'Reilly, and I think too busy focusing on the car in front, and has lost touch of him, and is now got O'Reilly breathing down his neck. Meanwhile, Silth is holding off everybody else. He's got Duffin, Friedman, McGowan, and then Tordock and Skunky not too far behind either. So it is still a tight fight towards the front end of the pack.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's how it works at the end of the day. It spreads out a little bit, but you still got to be careful up front. You follow all the way through the main leader, and at the current moment, it is quite literally the leader followed by 15 astern. So it is tight and tricky. One mistake and you will lose positions. The top 3 right there. Matthew Duffin still defending from Will Friedman. He has been there the entire time. McGowan also there, as Tardock actually, while we were looking away, has got past Skunky. So that's
he's already ahead of Skunky.
When I was watching them, they were not. Tardok was behind Skunky. So that's an overtake which I've missed, but you've caught, thankfully. As right now, a little bit further back as well. Got to be careful because Flop is now having to deal with Rob Ramsell, who's all over the back of him. Carlos also there. So the newcomer up in a bit of pressure. Rob Ramsell with a whole lot of speed on the exit. Has to slow down a little bit not to go into the back of Flop. But that is that, and still no movement between the leaders, and it's like you said, Dan, it seems like it's a bit of follow at this current moment in time. Ramsell does pull out to the side, maybe looks for it around the outside, but too far back, up and under, as Carlos having a little bit of a love tap on the rear end bumper.
Yeah, just gets a little bit congested there. Ramsell unable to get the up and under done. The undercut did not work for him there. Meanwhile, further back, we got Bell and Keynes going at it at the minute. Archer just with them as well. So there's all sorts of fights up and down the order. And right now, you can see Keynes looking up the inside of Bell. Obviously, contact earlier on, I believe, with Snai has allowed him to drop down the order a little bit and is now trying to go for a recovery drive. Hooper in the middle of all that as well. The dapper driver really been struggling here at Catalonia so far. Possibly just a race one and qualifying session has hampered him. But Yo still trying to go with Zampolini, but Zampolini absolutely not phased whatsoever. But Duffin, meanwhile, fastest lap of the race, which is interesting there, Lexi, because Duffin's in the pack and the top three have been pulling away from this group. So surely they've been invalidating their lap times as they've been going round.
Yeah, I mean, surely that's what you've got to be thinking, because you're looking at them going into turn number one. They are running very wide. They are trying to get as much space to go through. And you go off that curb, you will invalidate. You touch the gravel through the final sector, you will invalidate. So there is quite a few places to invalidate your lap times around this circuit. So that is one key factor that will be looked at most likely from the drivers going into race number two. Where was I invalidating? Because I do not want to do that. And of course, invalidating can also mean you have a track limit warning coming your way. You got free speed tokens you can spend, but if you try to spend a fourth one, you're going to be getting a big old no-no from the in-game system, and you will be given a drive-through penalty. So that is what's happening there. A little bit further back, Carlos is now making his way through. He's got past Rob Ramsell, so now he's chasing down the newcomer of Flop, who is now on the back of Gary Leach. So Team Audio Sport driver, having fallen off the back of Clarbel, is now falling into the clutches of this pack of Flop, Carlos, Ramsell and Cherry Moore.
Yeah, Gary Leach looks very loose, so we go back to your leader at the minute, who's pulled away from Yo now. So Yo under more pressure again from O'Reilly, and O'Reilly probably wants to clear him as quickly as he possibly can. But Zampolini leading the way, Duffin just sitting behind Silth at the minute, and everyone else kind of line astern at the minute, but Leach with a poor exit, I think. And here comes Flop, Carlos and Ramsell on the attack of Leach, and you can see there Carlos looking to possibly the inside of Flop, and Flop just holding on to that position, not flustered at all, not phased by the Ginetta driver. And Carlos, in the end, has to just fall into position as Ramsell's right behind them as well. Another close fight is Keynes going down the inside of Tipping, and Tipping losing out there. And once again, Aberdeen looking on the back of Millington. Millington with severe damage to the front end of that car, and is just trying to keep himself in a contention fight. But Carlos there, as we see, Leach goes very, very wide. That's going to open the door to Flop, Carlos and Ramsell all to have a look at possibly taking Leach, but he defends the inside to the next part of the corner, and Leach holds on to the position as Flop, Carlos and Ramsell, and now Cherrymore joining the party, looks for opportunities to get through.
Yeah, you join it, you look for an opportunity, and maybe, just maybe, one extra position can help you out quite a bit in the championship. Of course, we have 31 drivers on the grid, so one driver will not pick up points here, unfortunately. So it's top 30 who do end up getting points. Down the inside is going to go the good old, it's going to be up the inside. My things were having a moment there. Gary Leach got back up the inside of Flop, so no move done there. Up and under, switchback maybe. Carlos did look for it as the words began to jumble, but it's now going to go for the inside. Flop looks for it, makes his intentions clear, but Gary Leach once again defending it as we head down into this end of lap chicane. And now we've also got Rob Smith and Snyder onto the back of this train, which is being led by Gary Leach, but he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 astern.
He has indeed. Meanwhile, towards the front, we've got an inter-battle Greasy Bandits fight between McGowan and Skunky. They're quite close to one another. Wright is now onto the back of Benny Varga, who's got Goudet and Klarball going with him as well. Duffin and Friedman still harassing the back of Sylph. And at the minute, the top three have just evened themselves out a little bit. We are now halfway through this race. That means the pole will stop. But we'll go back to that fight between Flop and Carlos, because Carlos is looking up the inside of turn number 3. Flop to the outside. He won't be able to do much from there. He might have to just concede to position, hopefully, but he's keeping it around the outside. He's keeping it strong, but Leach goes wide as well. That's going to open the door to Carlos, and Carlos going up the inside. He's going to be on the outside for the next car, and Leach done this earlier on. He went wide. He's going to keep the nose up the inside. Carlos gives him fair racing room, and Leach there gives him a shove. A little bit rude there from Gary Leach, I'm afraid. He gave the space, but Carlos there losing out, and I do think it was a little bit rude there from Leach himself. But now Ramsdell gains from that. He gets past Flop, and now Leach goes wide. He's going to lose momentum. He's going to lose pace, and there goes Ramsdell up the inside. Job done, and Flop wants a bit of the action as well.
Yeah, now fighting back. Snipe trying to make his way through. Rob Smith right on the back of him, but Rob Smith more speed on the exit. Well, we're going to stay neutral, and that'll be down to the stewards to give a verdict on that. And these drivers are going right at it. Gary Leach back on the back on Flop, but Flop's on the inside. Now it switches to Gary Leach, and the rear end slips out. Was that contact? It was hidden on my camera, but it may have been contact on the rear right, and Flop has a half spin, and he's going to lose out to plenty of drivers. And now he is going to have to settle in, I believe, just in front of Tipping. So now Flop down to P number 22.
He is indeed, drops down the order after that slight contact. Meanwhile, we go back to the front, and is Darren Yeo with fastest lap, and he's brought the gap down ever so slightly to Zampolini, and O'Reilly has gone with them. Sylph now pulling away from Duffin, who has been fighting with Friedman. Momentarily, Friedman was ahead, and you can see there up the inside, Will Friedman will go, and a look up the inside, and Duffin tries to turn in, but there is Friedman. He has to give the racing room, he has to give respect, and he manages to do so. Duffin goes wide, and Will Friedman up another position. Is Duffin going to try and brake later? He can't do so, and Will giving it a wide berth going into the next sequence of corners. But job done for Will Friedman. Can Duffin come back as Tordok is slowly but surely creeping onto the back of him, and he's dragging the Greasy Bandits drivers with him.
Yeah, I mean, the Greasy Bandits, using that to the effect though, as long as you drag them with you, they're still gaining time. So it comes down to how they're going to use that into these final 7 minutes, as these battles are having an absolute skirmish between the drivers as the hills get in the way on my camera. And now onto the back straight, we get plenty of fights. I mean, through Matthew Duffin is round in at turn number 10. What happened there? Dan, I'll let you take over whilst I have a look at the replay.
I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but he has dropped down the order. He's dropped behind Tordok, McGowan, and Skunky now. Goudet has cleared Matt Wright, so Matt Wright has had his own little issues as well. He's supposed to come together with Betty Varga. Betty Varga moving down a position from Goudet, and Klarball just sits behind them, but Ramsdell now pulling away from Leach, who's got Carlos breathing down his neck. And here we go, Snye versus Smith. Smith losing a position there to Snye, and Snye moves up another place, looking to try and get back onto terms with this group ahead. He's got Hooper going with him, and Cranes as well, Flop as well, Tipping just in the foreground, and Bell trying to go with him as well, but it's all relatively close towards those guys. Top three once again, no real threat or change from those guys, and Sylph's in a secured P4 as Friedman struggling now to go with him after fighting Duffin, but Tordok looks like he's starting to come back a little bit. Maybe he saved a little bit of life in those tyres, and he's starting to come back as McGowan and Skunky also looking to go with him. Meanwhile, Goudet has still got the attention of Varga. Any news on that incident with Duffin, Lexi?
Yes, it's a complete loss on his own. Very lucky to avoid Will Friedman. Heading down into turn number 10 at the hairpin. Go looking to stick him behind him, but it seems like the right-hand side wheels got onto the grass. As soon as he hits the brakes, it decided to spin it. He had to take evasive action, very close to hitting Will Friedman, but he veered across, hit the curb on the inside, and that ended up him going round. Luckily enough, it seems like I caught him a very awkward time, because as soon as he stopped it, he got going again. So no damage there for Matthew, but a very, very close shave. He lost it completely on his own.
A costly mistake as well. 5 minutes left to go of this session, and once again, Darren Yeo has brought the gap down to Zampolini. Zampolini just seems to be... He was controlling this race, and I think now he has got a serious threat. If Yeo can make a challenge on him before O'Reilly gets to him, he might have an opportunity. Silth, meanwhile, has also just been slowly tucking away at the leaders. He's been biting at their ankles bit by bit. I think still probably going to pump in the fastest lap. Not quite, but he is slowly working his way onto the back of these guys. Meanwhile, Torok, where I thought was gaining on Friedman, he's now under pressure from McGowan. Skunky's dropped back a bit, close into the clutches of Duffin. And Goudet still got Varga breathing down his neck. Ramsell pulling away from Carlos. He got past Leach in the end. And everyone else in the same order relatively, and just trying to maneuver their way through this race. And not long left to go. But Yeo running out of time if he wants to stop this Zampolini domination. And he wants to come in and stop that after Kota was such a dominant drive from Zampolini, and he looks very good here, even with the 10 kilos. Yeo, though, trying his absolute best to get through on him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking back here. I don't know if you want to show it, but Steve Millington, I'm surprised he's still driving, because basically the entire panel of the hood is almost off the car, so I'm surprised he's still going with that. That is a big old din. He's been driving with that since lap number 1, so that's unfortunate for him. Rob Smith now has Hooper on the back of him. Hooper, of course, the driver who started lowest in the golds, but now trying to fight his way through and get past the amateur and get past the bronze class leader. So they are now they're now locked in that battle. Of course, Yeo, a silver driver, making his way through. Now dropped back a little bit in the last sector to Zampolini, but he's now closing into it. We're going with 3 minutes remaining. So with the current lap times, we will be going onto the penultimate lap.
I just noticed with Yeo, he takes a lot of inside curb going into the chicane, and that really hampers his exit as well. When he goes into the exit part of the chicane, he loses so much time and momentum to Zampolini. Zampolini tucks into the first part of the chicane and gets a better run through the S's. Yeo, on the other hand, just carrying way too much speed in there. He gets close, but can't do anything with it. Meanwhile, Torok under pressure from McGowan as they now look to turn number 1, and McGowan is looking for an opportunity. Can he possibly find one? That is the question. Smith, meanwhile, has still stayed ahead of Hooper at the minute. Hooper, meanwhile, under pressure from Keynes at the minute, who's looking to come and make a move on the dapper racing car, who's been phenomenal all season and is just struggling here at Barcelona by the looks of things.
I mean, yeah, the reason why Rob stayed ahead, well, one of the reasons is because, as you were saying, the other driver taking too much curb, Hooper had his entire car go on the sausage curb, and he got a bit of airtime as he goes very, very wide, trying to push it with turn number 3. Ken's going to be right there with him. Flop also trying to make his way through. So that's going to be an interesting fight that's going to unfold between these guys. McGowan on the back of course, Tardok in that fight. So now it becomes a lot more interesting into these final laps, because we are on penultimate. We will be going to final, and then that will be the end of race number 1. Of course, we've still got 2 more races to come your way. Hooper now, though, onto Rob Smith, onto the inside. He's got his rear wheels there, side by side momentarily, but he has to drop it back. That did not work out for him that time round, and now he's going to have to settle back in, as it is a very unfortunate moment for him, as Taylor is now going to have to be careful, because Fernie's starting to close in. Marsden is currently second to last, but final points runner, because Steve Millington is 7 seconds behind him. I'm surprised that Steve Millington is still running, and it looks like his car's bouncing a little bit as we now head under the final lap of this race, and on the penultimate into the final corners. Almost makes contact, millimeters apart. Gary Leach looked for the move on Carlos. Gary Leach, actually, Snye, I should say, tried to go for the move, and now it's around the outside in the final corner. Going to be going under the final lap between these two. Nice little fight, And then it seems like Zampolini's opened it up to a second under this final lap. So it is Zampolini's race to lose at this moment in time. But the closest battle out here being Snai and Cherrymore. As Cherrymore now on the outside down into turn number 1. The battle for P number 17, possibly P number 16 if Gary makes a mistake, is well and truly on.
Yeah, while you were talking about that, Keynes was actually attacking Smith. Smith has already lost out to Hooper, and Keynes up the inside, makes contact with Smith. Smith goes a little bit one. Keynes slowing down there, allowing Smith to get back ahead, but Flop might benefit from that. He doesn't quite. I think he's going to be on the outside for the next part of the corner, but at this stage at the minute, he does manage to gain on that one, but Keynes going back up the inside and holds on to that position, tries again with Smith, but Zampolini been out in front, hasn't had the fastest lap, hasn't had it his own way. He has had Yo pressurizing all the way through, but nonetheless, Zampolini with a fantastic job once again coming into the final sector. He just needs to keep it facing the right way. Meanwhile, Torlock still holding off McGowan, and McGowan just can't seem to find a way through. They caught Will Friedman just at the very end there, but into the final sector we go. Zampolini, he's going to make it 4 race wins in a row, 3 at Cota, and the first one here at Barcelona. Can anyone stop this man from winning? That is the question. He now goes through the final corner, and Zampolini will win race 1 here at Barcelona, Catalonia. In second will go the way of Darren Yo. O'Reilly will finish in third. Smith, Silt in 4th, Friedman 5th, Tordock 6th, McGowan in 7th, Skunky in 8th, Duffin in the end 9th. Gure been hunted down by Varga all the way to the end to round off the top 10. Varga 11th, Klarbel in 12th, 13th Matt Wright. Ramsel is just going to hold off Carlos right at the end there for 15th. Leach is about to be dragged to the line but stays ahead of Snai and Cherrymore for 16th, 17th and 18th. Hooper in the end with clear air gets 19th place position. Smith holds on for a top 20 ahead of Keynes, ahead of Flop, ahead of Tipping. Then is Bell in 24th position, ahead of Johnson in the 25th place, of Archer 26th, Taylor in 27th position, Aberdeen 28th, 29th is Marsden, Fernie with damage just like he's going to hang in there for the 30th position, and Millington missing out on a point. Your winners for each category: gold goes the way of Zampolini, silver goes the way of Darren Yo, and your bronze winner is Smith. We'll be back in a few moments time as we'll go to a quick break, and we'll be back momentarily for the qualifying session. We will leave you the highlights from this race, but for now we'll be back in a few moments time. hello everybody who is currently still in the video right now. We have some bad news at this stage at the moment. The issues that we brought up last week at COTA has happened once again here at the Whodarron Cup. ACC servers have gone down, and at this moment in time, myself and Lexi can't get back into the server, and right now we are unable to give you this stream. We are trying everything in our power, but it seems like multiple leagues have also been affected by this. Multiple servers have. So whatever's happened on the ACC end, we have all been disconnected and cannot reconnect to the server at the minute. So far we've lost 3 drivers. Unless we get a mass disconnection when majority of the drivers cannot complete the session and have been booted, then we will call it a cancelled event. So far I obviously have other admin members and drivers in the session letting me know that there are still multiple drivers in there at the minute, but unless multiple cars have been disconnected, they can still run the event, just obviously behind closed doors. First and foremost, apologies to all the drivers who have been disconnected so far. From what I can tell, it's myself, Lexi, Will Friedman, Smokey, Raimi Fernie, and I believe John Goudet has left as well. Us 5 cannot get back into the server at this stage, but obviously due to the fact that the rest are still racing and still able to race, they will still continue the event at the minute. I've just fully apologized to those guys, and like I said, unless I get more news about more cars being disconnected or they choose not to race, then at this moment in time there's nothing we can do. Like I said, I am constantly trying to find a solution, but as of right now it is the same. The servers are telling me it is disconnected. I will not be able to connect into the server, right, or any multiple player session at the minute. So sadly, at this moment in time, I think the stream will have to come to an end, as I do not have anything to show for you guys. Lexi's obviously going around spreading the room, spreading it around at the moment. But like I said, if we're able to get going once again before the guys come back later on, then I obviously will try and get live once again. But sadly, once again, Assetto Corsa Competizione affecting us once more. And like I said, there's really not much I can do. So I apologize once again to all the drivers, all to the people who are watching the stream. We will have to cancel the stream at the minute. The event still goes on though, and the drivers will still score points. But at this moment in time, there is nothing that we can do, and we cannot see the action. So for now, I'm going to have to end the stream, and I'll allow you guys to relax and enjoy the rest of your evening. We may be live a little bit later on if we get in, but if not, then we hopefully will things be sorted for tomorrow night for the Pro-Am. But a reminder as well to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified if you do want to know if we go live again. But at this moment in time, we will not be. Hit that like button, please, and obviously go and follow our sponsors as well, Design Manchester and Audio Sport as well. But for me at the minute and Lexi, it is a goodbye for the meantime. We will be live as soon as we possibly can once we know more. But for now, we'll be back possibly tomorrow night. But for now, we'll see you later.